I budgeted $1,000 per month for my through hike.
I'll be happy if I honestly never eat another packet of tuna again.
What I read online is it cost about $10,000.
Let's see, 250, 500, 700.
Everyone's experience is going to be different, what they're willing to forego.
It all depends on how fast you want to hike.
It probably cost me roughly
So I was trying to do like as much on a budget as I could. I had the finances where I could get some more expensive stuff, but I really like the idea of saving money and having that for other things.
I also saved up money over the years, and I bought my pieces slowly over time as I prepared for the hike.
I bought my gear probably like within 2 weeks before I started. Never tested it.
because I did go ultralight. I got a lot of things in there that are a little more expensive. I did have to get a new pack in Marion, Virginia.
I have swapped out a few pieces here and there, which definitely has made my costs a little more expensive than some people.
Let's see, 250, 500, 700. Shoes, probably about $1,000 when I put it all together.
Maybe $3,000 or $4,000 on gear for the AT.
I'll say maybe around 2,000. 2,000, maybe less.
I'd say $3,000, but it's probably close to $2,700.
I've probably spent about $700 on gear.
I probably spent $1,000.
Gear for this trip cost me about $1,000.
I probably spent around $1,500, and that includes like things that broke on trail and then had to, buy something new.
I think altogether my gear was a little over 2,000 starting off.
All in all, gear, hiking clothes, puffy, all that, probably about $1,500 in. Rough guess, total gear cost, maybe a little bit more.
The price of food is your primary expenditure. We get our food the exact same way. We go to the grocery store. In the Northeast, there's a lot of restaurants on trail, and a lot of hikers want to stop at a lot of these restaurants because you start to crave luxuries.
Those small town stores, then there are big ones. You can buy a week's worth at Walmart for a whole lot cheaper than you can buy a week's worth at one of the small town gas stations.
We went to Walmart a good bit. Dollar General was a good one too. Just easy, convenient, a bunch of local mom and pop kind of shops. Price is a little more, but all the stuff we're buying is pretty cheap anyway.
For trail food, I will typically go to the closest either supermarket or Dollar General. Walmart was a big one.
The best place to get food is definitely Walmart. The second best place is probably Dollar General.
Generally getting most of my food in stores, like grocery stores or at hostels. I have had some shipments sent from home.
Coffee Inn, Carnation Instant Breakfast, and 3 packets of oatmeal.
For lunches, a tuna wrap with a tortilla, cheese and salami, protein bars. Candy is a big staple. This last week I have flourished a little bit and done some real live backpacker meals though.
Trail mix, 2,000 calories worth in a day. Dinner would be 2 packs of ramen, a north side, and 3 packets of tuna.
Some of them were those expensive freeze-dried meals.
A really popular meal out here is the ramen bomb, which is powdered mashed potatoes and ramen. I eat Velveeta mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, and beef jerky, or rice and tuna.
2 honey buns or cosmic brownies to bump the calorie number up.
A packet of brown gravy and some stuffing mix. Lots of tuna. I'll be happy if I honestly never eat another packet of tuna again.
For on-trail food, $100 a week. Pound food, $50, $60 a week.
If we're in town, it's probably closer to like $150.
$200 a week.
I'd say 120 to 140, somewhere in that range, yeah.
$90 a week, so that's $60 for trail food. In town, I tend to buy a little too much, especially if we haven't eaten when we go shopping. So probably another $30 on that.
$80 on hiking food, on town food. For 2 days, it was $50.
$125 a week.
Maybe $200 per week on food.
I would say probably like $120, $150 maybe a week.
I don't do the expensive like meals for dinner, the freeze-dried stuff, so I suspect my food bill is a bit less than most other people's. I'm thankful that I didn't really have a budget.
Your home is the trail and you don't know, you have an idea where you're gonna sleep, but you don't exactly know how you're gonna sleep.
If I'm sleeping on trail, it's in a tent.
The favorite place to sleep for me, definitely a shelter rat now. It's just easier.
I tend to tent more than I shelter. If it's a really bad storm, you might want to sleep in the shelter even though it's full because it's going to be slightly more comfortable than sleeping in a flooded tent.
I tend to stay out of the shelters as much as possible. You know, they're noisy at night. I prefer my tent.
Where you sleep most nights is free. You're only getting a bed maybe 1-2 nights a week.
Probably like once a week is a town day where we're staying overnight.
I'll try to stay in town like once a week, preferably a hostel because they have amenities to hikers that, you know, hotels just don't usually have. Being able to do laundry, have access to loaner clothes, shuttles in town and all of that. Plus it's just usually a lot cheaper.
Private rooms, which are a little more expensive, but if you need a better night's sleep, that is definitely the way to go. A bunk room, it could have like 15 to 20 people in it.
For a week, let's say a little over one time in a hostel.
I think we probably average a hostel once a week after the first part of the trip. Tried to save a little money in the beginning, not knowing that we would spend more on hostels in this later half.
Usually once or twice a week.
Oh yeah, I spent a good bit in hostels and hotel. I mean, you get a shower, laundry, breakfast, a little bit of comfort, and they usually include the shuttle.
For a hostel bed that gives you free transportation to the trail and breakfast in the south is $40. In the northeast, a hostel bed will cost you about $75, but the price of lodging definitely fluctuates from town to town.
Most of them are in that $40 to $60 range. That'll get your bunk, your shower, all of that.
Probably anywhere from like $30 to like $70 a night.
Some will go up to $45, $50, so between $70 and $100 a week.
For a week, let's say 60 to 90 bucks.
Yeah. In the beginning, there was very little. At the end, there's a lot more.
Your whole life is dictated by when the sun's rising, when the sun's setting, and trying to just get to the next town to resupply.
So for food, we need to go into towns to resupply. So we will either hitch or take a shuttle into town. Some towns are walkable. Sometimes you can hire someone basically to shuttle you into town for usually like 20 bucks or something like that. But if I can, I try to hitch because it's free.
Your transportation for the most part is free. Hitches are free. It's every once in a while you might need a shuttle to something that's not near the trail, like maybe you need to do a bank transfer and you need to find your branch of your bank, or maybe there's not an outfitter nearby.
Mostly shuttles. I've had one hitchhike.
We did a mixture of everything as far as transportation goes. Shuttles were our bread and butter. Hitchhiked a few times, and then Uber, just here and there, just a little bit. We were always like splitting rides and everything. Sometimes it'd be included in your stay.
I think if I were just me or just me and somebody else, a shuttle probably wouldn't have been as cost effective, but at one point our family was 4 people.
I didn't hitchhike as much as some of my fellow hikers. I only hitchhiked like 3 times. I found that the shuttles were a little more expensive.
For paid transportation, I probably spend about $10 a week.
20 bucks?
$5.
I would say 20 a week, yeah, that sounds about right.
For transportation, I think the average weekly is gonna be 25 or 30 bucks.
I think the most expensive shuttle I've ever had was $60, and that was an emergency situation. But generally speaking, I would say a shuttle is maybe like $20.
I spent probably a couple $100 just on travel alone.
I budgeted $1,000 per month for my through hike, and that was counting for 7 months, just in case it went longer than expected. And I think I've probably come in right about accurate on that. So I would guess about $7,000 to $8,000 is about what I've spent so far.
Honestly, I'm not sure if I know how much I've spent because I'm thankful that I didn't really have a budget, so I didn't want to stress about trying to pay attention to any of that. I'm guessing somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 maybe.
I would say probably 8 to 10 grand for me.
All in all, comfortably enjoying yourself, you could do it for 5 to 6 grand, I'd say.
All in, to hike the AT cost me about $8,000.
To hike the Appalachian Trail, I think it probably took me about $7,700.
To hike the Appalachian Trail, it probably cost me roughly $7,000.
Overall, to hike the Appalachian Trail, I spent $8,500.
Everyone's experience is going to be different, and a lot of that experience is going to be what they can afford and what they're willing to forego.
Budget-wise, it all depends on how fast you want to hike. You know, whether you're doing it in 3 months or 6 months. Depends on how often you want to stay in a hostel and get cleaned up, or if you're more the hotel type, where you're not good at sharing bunk rooms.